Morning, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I just want to drop a few tips about IELTS reading. So reading is not that difficult, but in IELTS they give you different essays, three different essays of varying difficulty, and it's a bit confrontational because everything stares you in the face at first. So you think, which one should I do first? And how should I divide my time? So it's wise to allocate the most time to the third essay, usually because the first essay is the easiest. It's not that easy, but of the three is the easiest. The second one is next in difficulty. It's a little bit more difficult, and the third one is the most complex. So usually each essay they give you, or comprehension passage, has about has a lot of paragraphs. I've seen some with 8 paragraphs or more. So they have a lot of paragraphs and they expect you to finish everything in time. So there are three methods you can use to approach this. First, you can decide to read everything like you do for every normal comprehension passage and then go ahead and answer the questions. But I won't recommend that. Next, you can do a quick look through. um so you can quickly read like the first 2 lines and then the last line of each paragraph, and then go ahead and answer the questions. And the third method is to read the question first and then go and look through the passage and then come back to answer the questions. Excuse me, give me 1 second. So sorry about that little break in transmission. So yeah, we were talking about IELTS essays. So in IELTS reading essays, you there are some important things you need to know. The very first statement that starts each paragraph is very important, especially the first 2 passages. In the third passage, they make it a little bit more complex, so you have to look for the answers, read between the lines. But in the first passage, you can quickly go through the first sentences of each paragraph and then the last sentences. So the first sentence that starts the paragraph and the last sentence, they are very important. Also, look out for examples, comparisons, and all that. Look out for names when they are mentioning John Smith said, Aaron Pierce said. Look out for those things. So look out for quotes, look out for dates. Yeah. So I used 2 methods in different IELTS. So in my general IELTS, I used the method of reading the first 2 lines and the last line, then going to the questions and then coming back to the passage, then going back to the questions, which landed me in a 7.5. But in the academic, I just went to the questions and then came back to the passage. So when I saw the questions, I had no idea of what the passage was talking about. So I was looking for the answer in the passage. So the 2 methods are all right. Actually, the two methods are okay, and I can't say one is better than the other. It just depends on you. So you're not required to comprehend the passage. You don't need to understand it. All you're required to do is to answer the questions correctly. And when you're answering the questions, be very careful of your tenses and your grammar. So if something was asking for a singular answer, don't go and put a plural. Watch out for those things. So these are the things that make people lose marks. It's not like they don't know the correct answer. For instance, if the answer was home or homes, don't go and put home instead. So it would be homes or houses. Don't go and put house instead. So you would lose all the marks if you miss the tenses. And if they're asking you to report something in past tense, report it in past tense. Don't report it in simple tense. So look at how the question was framed. If you see that they are asking, the answer would require you to say a verb in past tense. Even if it was written in present tense in the passage, use it in past tense. It's difficult to explain now because we don't have a passage as example, and I can't read out a whole passage on YouTube. But be very careful about things like singular and plural, verb tenses. These are the things, spelling, these are the things that make people lose marks. And a lot of people read to understand the passages. You don't need to, they just give you something like history about something that happened maybe in the Stone Age and you're trying to understand. There's no point. Just answer the questions. They're going to test you based on how you can answer the questions. Yeah. So if I remember well, IELTS reading was 1 hour. Was it 1 hour? I can't really remember. I'll confirm. Sorry. So 1 hour for 3 passages. So don't make it 20 minutes for each passage. Don't divide it by 3, because like I said, the most difficult passage is the third one. Is very complex. You have to really read between the lines to find the answers. Yeah. So the very first passage you can allocate 15 minutes. So this is what I did. Instead of allocating 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, allocate 15 minutes to the first passage. The second passage you can allocate like 17 to 18 minutes, and the third passage, that leaves us with about 37 minutes for the third passage, and it's totally worth it because you would have just very little time at least to go over the third passage and read through your answers again. So reading, don't ever make the mistake of trying to understand the passage. No, that's nobody's testing your understanding. They want you to answer the questions. So they want you to look for the answers in the paragraphs. So, and one thing that can help you, if you're using the method of going to the answers first, then the going to the questions first, then looking for the answers in the passage, then if something was talking about if they say for instance, John Smith said in 1980 something, John Smith said dash. So what you're doing is going to the passage to look for John Smith. Definitely, if you use the style of reading the first few lines at the start of the paragraph, you would definitely know that that John Smith said might not be most likely will not be in the first paragraph. Yeah? And the first few lines of each paragraph will guide you through. The answer is most likely not to be in paragraph B. It's not likely to be in paragraph C. It would be in paragraph D. Yeah? Yeah? And in the passage, in that case, be watching out for quotation marks when you're looking for somebody said. They say in 1980 this occurred. If everything is arranged according to dates, then once you're seeing 1970, 1960, just keep those and go for 90. So your speed is what matters most. Speed, you have to be really, really fast. So there's no point reading through the whole passage. Just pay attention to the first 2 lines of the paragraph, the last line. If you don't find your answer, then go for the ones in the middle. Yeah? Because they make the very first line and the last line very important, trust me. So you would find your answers quicker that way. Yeah? So that's for the reading aspect. And when you're answering the questions, be very careful. Read the question, go to the passage, and come back to the question. I like that style the most. When I read the question, go to the passage and come back to the question, because don't just pick the answer from the passage and then immediately go and fill it. Read the question again. Yeah. So these are the tips I have on reading. And read the instructions carefully. If the instruction says list one or more or at least 2, be very careful of at least, the single most important, one or more, all those things. Be very careful when you're reading instructions, because we have varying instructions for different aspects of the questions. So some will say fill in the gaps. If it's filling the gap, go back to the passage and look for what will complete it. Sometimes they require you to change the form of the sentence. So you might they might ask it in, if it was an active sentence in the past, they might ask the question in a passive form, and then you would have to change the verb. Be careful about those things. Yeah. And if you see that the question was written in plural form, make sure your answer is in plural form. If it was written in past tense, make sure you're completing it in past tense. So these are the important things that you need to look out for when you're reading for IELTS. Yeah. All right. So see you in my next video. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching my videos. Bye for now. I wish you all the best in your IELTS. I'll be dropping tips for listening as well. Make sure you watch. Thank you. Bye bye.